Hello, I'm Stuart Childs and you're welcome to the Dairy Edge, the Teagasc Dairy podcast. We're bringing you the latest information, insights and opinion to improve dairy farm performance. In the second part of my interview with Tommy Heffernan, Tommy talks about an Irish-produced complementary feed for calves called Precision Microbes. While Tommy is involved with the promotion of Precision Microbes now, he's only gotten involved with the company in recent times as he sees the product and the thinking behind the product as game-changing. So I started by asking Tommy why he is so excited about it and how he came to be involved with it.
I obviously work as a consultant, and I'm very lucky in ways that I get to play around in the fringes and maybe with technology and new things that are coming. So that's nothing new for me. I would have been, I suppose, I did an off-field scholarship in 2018 and I got to travel all over the world. I was very, very lucky. And, you know, one of the things that kept coming up on that trip was the microbiome and the gut and the space, and this is now in top research places. And I remember in Hong Kong I met a professor and she just fascinated me. She was looking at small animals now, but she was looking at the challenge in Hong Kong in the city. Most people had pets in their apartments and they could freely access antibiotics, and they were really worried. And she just showed, and there's something really interesting here. So I was interested in that space. I had seen probiotics, had used them in practice. I was a bit skeptical. So I went in with a skeptical mindset, but interest, and I was involved in the trial work. And I suppose in the last 2 years, and anyone who will have talked to me will have guessed this now, I've been blown away by what I've learned, okay? Absolutely blown away by understanding, I suppose, more about the gut microbiome and its potential. I suppose we've seen chemistry been a massive tool for us in agriculture, Stuart, over the last number of years, right? So it's been massive. We do see a shift towards new solutions and understanding biology. What has changed is significant as well. Metagenomics now, and I know Teagasc is doing work in this area, allows us to understand the full scope of the bacteria in the gut, but there's a thing called metabolomics. So there's a lot more science to what we're doing now and understanding the interactions, okay? So that's just kind of a background. When I was doing the trial work, what was most interesting for me, and I kind of alluded to it on the calf jackets, was mid-trials, all the farmers wanted to buy the product. And I said, look, it's not in the market yet. And again, I was very lucky to do a lot of vet training. And I did some vet training for a group of vet practices. And we were talking about actually calf diarrhea in the middle of spring, because there was quite a bit of challenge. And I started talking about this, and the vets used the product. And before I could even get back to them for feedback, they were all coming back to me on the speed of action. Now, take my biases aside, there's a bit of science to this. When we look at the gut microbiome, when we look at the gut in the calf, we know that the trillions of bacteria, beneficial bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and other things are key to digestion, okay? So we know that in both humans and animals. But also 70% of the immune system is in the gut. And that's because the gut is such an open surface. That's why we need all that immune system there as a protection. And then we know as well that these beneficial bacteria play a role in protecting us, both animals and humans. None of us would be there without them. So essentially, that's what the gut microbiome is doing. So when we look at an altered gut microbiome, we can see all the challenges that can come. When we then look at how we actually can manipulate it and support it, that was the idea of probiotics. But the challenge with probiotics have always been that they're a bit like factories, these beneficial bacteria. Ideally, we're just supplementing. What's different about this is and it's an Irish company, and and again, this will be on record for me now to be lambasted for the rest of my career if I'm wrong, and I don't think I will be, but is what they've done is they've developed a very unique liquid process of propagation, live bacteria, and their metabolites are postbiotics. So when we get down into the gut and we start understanding the microbiome, it's actually these postbiotics that act at a very cellular level. And what I've seen there, and I've seen even Teagasc do work on postbiotics use in the mammary gland, what I have seen there around postbiotics is game changing. And I think if we go forward 10 years again, if we're still around, Stuart, and we're having a pint sometime, we'll reflect on this chat. But this is where the future of gut health will be anyway. We just happen to be ahead of the curve. And why it's important, I suppose, why I've seen this, why I've got a bit excited about it is when we think about calf diarrhea and we think about biological damage at, say, the villi in the gut, well, that's where we see that diarrhea and that osmotic effects and all the damage and everything. So one of the things with calf diarrhea is repair and recovery of these villi. And when you understand from a metabolomic perspective, we know the role of postbiotics in the production of different cytokines and how this occurs. And practically on farm, I've seen this. I've seen the speed, the increased recovery time. Well, that's one exciting thing. And I have vets coming to me, not just in Ireland, but further afield, saying they're replacing oral antibiotics as maybe a mainstay for calves. With this, it's a biological solution. That's why I'm pretty excited, because, okay, it's a commercial company, but for me, it's a once in a lifetime career to actually really make a difference in the animal health space. I am excited from the potential applications, and I think I've been lucky to be involved and see through the metabolomic research what potentially we can do with biological solutions. And there is this element of, that it's alternative. But I always say to people, just to bear in mind, 2 postbiotic metabolites people will know. Penicillin came from a fungus. Alexander Fleming discovered it by accident, okay? It was later refined. But another postbiotic metabolite was ivermectin. It came from a Streptomyces bacteria discovered by Satoshi Amuro in a golf course in Japan. Metabolomics now allows us understand what the processes that are occurring in nature, and we're literally trying to harness them to improve outcomes. And again, they're tools. What we now need to look at, and that's all. That's what antibiotics and vaccinations and other tools are. They're tools to help us. And when we look at the pressure that's on in the seasonal system, it's no wonder we have calf diarrhea. There's a lot of challenges there. So these are tools in the armory for farmers potentially.
Okay, so just to come back to the mode of action, I suppose, Tommy, like what I came across the Precision Microbes maybe 3 years ago as well, possibly, and it seemed to be being targeted at the kind of recovery, we'll say, for the scour, to treat the scour. But you're actually moving into a space now, kind of where you're suggesting that this should be fed maybe on a more continuous basis. And I suppose the point that you made there about the villi, like, we want to try, there's a requirement to reduce antibiotic usage and so forth, and obviously calves in a lot of cases don't need antibiotics for some of the illnesses that they get unless it's absolutely necessary, but people aren't possibly inclined to use them maybe from time to time, and they shouldn't. They're actually blowing away all that gut bacteria that you're talking about. So you're talking about kind of maybe coming in from a very early stage for a longer period of time with the product now, and you're seeing very positive effects in terms of the reduction in the amount of antibiotics that maybe has to be used in calf herds. So will you just explain a little bit more about how the product works, and we'll say how it actually is going to be used on farms, or how you'd like to see it being used on farms?
Okay, so basically, Stuart, the product was never designed for what it got its name for originally in the marketplace. It was always, there's about 10 years, one of the researchers working for 15 years in this space. It was always designed to optimize gut health and performance. It was a performance product, a daily supplement, okay? So I suppose post my involvement in the trial work, I knew that the product at higher dose levels was very effective at stabilization. And in a very busy marketplace where lots of people are making lots of claims, having a product that did that job for farmers, that they could actually see a difference in the recovery, that's where we actually started. I think where we're going back to now is we're going back to where its proper use is. And again, when we give probiotics or any supplements, we're trying to mimic those, or beneficial bacteria. We're trying to mimic what the good bacteria are doing. Okay, so we are trying to support, particularly during periods of stress, that microbiota, and at a cellular level, the postbiotics are interacting there. So by giving this daily supplement every day, you are supporting improving digestion, again, regulating immune function and providing that protection. So when we see maybe changes from whole milk to milk replacer, or going on to automated feeders, or the challenges that maybe infectious agents will cause at certain times, and because none of us are going to have a sterile farm, we're going to have bacteria there. That's where the benefit is. We're targeting good gut health on a daily basis. The reason you use something like this daily is there's always a reversion, no matter whether you look at humans or animals. When you give supplements like beneficial bacteria, when you take them away, there's always a reversion back. So the idea is to supplement what's naturally occurring there. So from a daily dose point of view, it's very palatable. One of the things I would have noticed as well which is an added benefit, is calves instinctively like fermented products. Okay, so they actually like the taste of it. One of the things when I was doing the trials was farmers were sending me pictures and videos of the calves drinking the product off the syringe. And it's because they like fermented products. So you can imagine it mixes well with milk. It helps with appetite and recovery as well, or just keeping calves drinking. It's not eliminating calf diarrhea. You still will see calf diarrhea, but what we are seeing is they don't get as sick and the recovery is stronger. Now, that will vary on the pathogen. It's on the farm and farm to farm. Like crypto is a whole other challenge, but like it's a game changer when it comes to nutritional issues we'll see on farm. And just figure, and I would have done all the trial work, and there would have been some independent trial work to mine as well, because you could say that would be biased. My trial work is biased now, but average daily gain was something we consistently seen depending on the levels of feeding. Again, look, if we'll come back to it in 2 or 3 years, Stuart, and see where it is. I know lots of new products come into the marketplace. What I will say is I've been around a long time, and for me to back it like this, I have to understand the science. And the most exciting thing for me is that, again, everyone's talking about all the challenges out there. We've got some amazing tools at our disposal now because of metabolomics and our research and understanding. It's going to be the next phase, along with the chemistry, around biological solutions, because the science is really catching up there, and we understand a lot more about the microbiome now, right down to a cellular level. So it's very exciting.
I suppose, just to put it into context for people, what you're actually talking about, Tommy, really is like what the lads here are talking about. Ben Lahart is doing the methane emission stuff, the feed additives that they're talking about. They're just looking to manipulate the function of the rumen there, and that's what you're doing with the calves with this product, isn't it?
Yeah, so 30 mils a day per calf. Going in from day one, you're supporting those key areas of digestion, supporting immune function. 70% of the white blood cells are there. When we have inflammation there, so if you have a poor quality diet in a calf, it's going to cause a lot of issues at a cellular level that are going to, because it's only one cell thick in our gut, in our calf's gut. It's only one little tiny layer of cells. So if you have the wrong diet, all the lovely mucin that protects those cells, all that, it causes a low-grade inflammation. We can know it as leaky gut, people talk about in humans. You get an excess amount of inflammation, and that inflammation, because there's so much of it there in the gut, it can affect the overall immune system. So we're trying to regulate that as well. And again, when we're putting in this competition thing, so bacteria will compete, and is it good versus bad? So when you're controlling the population of microbes in the gut, you're reducing down maybe the less E. coli, and you're competing with other harmful pathogens. So that's what you're doing on a daily basis. Is just, they're the 3 key areas that you're trying to support better gut health with, along with all the other management things. But again, if you don't do the simple things right, no supplement or nothing will work. We've seen that with vaccinations even, we can, a vaccine works better where the immune system is healthier. When you give a vaccine to very sick animals, the immune system is compromised. So we got to get the basics right. And this is a tool on top of that, targeting that gut health.
So what you're talking about here is basically Premier League stuff, is getting all those basics right that you have there. This is possibly going to take you to the Champions League type stuff. It's an add-on, like. Yeah,
again, it is taking it to the next level. It is. And to be honest with you, look, I've been very lucky to be involved in it. The product it does a lot of the talking for us. So that's been excellent. We've been involved with research now in our interest and inquiries from several institutes as well, because of what they've seen, and it's different. And look, again, Stuart, being a bit patriotic, it's an Irish company. It's manufactured in Ireland. The science has been developed in Ireland. So I'm kind of proud of that. Anything that can help farms and calves move the dial a small bit is going to make a huge difference. So look, that's where we're at, and I would wish we're pre-spring ourselves now. So wishing farmers as well that look a safe spring as well, because it's a busy time on farm, and look after themselves. It's the calm before the storm, isn't it?
Sick calves are actually the biggest part of a challenge in the springtime. Calving cows is the easy piece. It's actually the feeding of the calves and looking after the calves is the challenge. And guys often say to me, it's March is really the challenging period, when there's everything going on at that stage. February is kind of, you're just concentrating on getting on with it. And then in terms of just performance and gain, you're seeing really good things coming from the Precision Microbes, and people can look into that if they're interested into it. And obviously they can contact you as well if they want to talk to you further about it. Tommy, a pleasure as always to talk to you, and hopefully we'll talk sooner than the 3 years again, or the 10 years as well. So thanks for coming on today, and look forward to talking to you again, and best luck for the spring as well for yourself. Obviously you'll be involved in cases and stuff that will throw up their challenges. So
keep up the good work, Stuart. Keep out the good old content going. You actually do. It's funny you say the 20-minute lap. I always time out a bit of exercise, whatever, and I think about my podcast that'll fit that space. So thanks, Stuart.
Thanks, Tommy. Talk to you again. That's all for this week's episode of the Dairy Age podcast, and my thanks to Tommy Heffernan for joining me again on this week's show. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast. You can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify, and for more information go to the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie. I'm Stuart Childs, and join me next time for your Dairy Age.